God. Hey everyone, welcome to Know Like Trust for Real Estate. I am your host, Christine George. I'm also the co-founder of Post and Beam Creative. And let me tell you, we have an incredible show for you today. My guest today is a keynote speaker. She's a writer. She's the founder of Wordshops, a workshop for self-talk. She's a decorated track cyclist who's won 15 national championships. She's probably most well known as one of the most popular Peloton instructors, my personal favorite. She has a really, really unique way of engaging with her students so that she makes us feel like we're the only one she's teaching to. And that gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. When I told my friend Georgia Perez that Christine was going to be here today, she said this: Christine is badassery incarnate. She's a national badass competitive cyclist. She's Broadway and alt music, and she is everything that is inclusive. She is what I want to be, period. And she's helped me take steps to better myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Please join me in welcoming Christine Dercole. Did I do that all right?
You did it well enough.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
And oh my God. So great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So I could talk to you for hours, but I'm going to just get right to it. Could you just kind of kick us off and tell us your story, your ballerina story, and sort of how you got here?
Yeah. So when I was a little girl, like so many other little girls, I wanted to be a ballerina. And they told me that my thighs were twice the size of the other little girls, and they wouldn't put me in a short tutu. And so I interpreted that as I am too big to be in front, to be seen, to be lifted, to be loved, to be successful. And that became my narrative as a young girl. And I did everything in my power, everything, all of the self-harm behaviors to whittle myself down, to make myself smaller, to fit into that narrative, somebody else's narrative of what a dancer should look like. And then I had to give that up, but I moved to acting. And I thought that theater has got to be the answer. And I auditioned for and got myself into Carnegie Mellon University's acting program. And I thought, this must be a sign I am on the right path. There are roles for everyone at every age, every type, every size. And this has to be the way. This has to be the way. Mm-hmm. And one day I was looking at some papers I should not have been looking at. I peeked at a audition feedback form, and it said lots of nice things about my monologues. And then it said that she's a little heavy in the thigh. And it sent me spiraling back down again. Like, how can I not be built for any of my dreams? How is that a thing? How can I have a desire to be on a stage, to tell story that inspires and potentially changes lives, but not be built for it? Why is this about my body? Why is this about other people's opinions of my body? But I kept trying. I was riding my bike all over New York City from audition to audition, and, hoping I'm going to hear something different one day. And finally, I had too much of it. And I remember riding my bike home really, really hard, really, really fast with the other guys, just people in the park, like racing people randomly. And I was like, this feels really good. I mean, it hurt, but that hurt felt like strength. And I wasn't thinking about how my body looked when I was trying to pass somebody on my bike. So I needed a job, and I got a job as a bike messenger because I'm like, I'm riding my bike everywhere. I might as well do that. I had no idea the world I was getting into. And the dispatchers had these nicknames for everyone. There was one guy named Basuro. There was Zippo and Speedy and Monster, and then they called me Legs, and I didn't like it. And I went to them and I said, "Can you please come up with another handle for me?" And they said, "But why? Your legs are really fast. In fact, you should think about racing." I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be an actor. I'm not an athlete. I tried it and I won.
Yeah.
I won a lot of races. And I thought, well, maybe this is what I'm built for. And maybe I don't have to be tiny to be lifted because I'm strong enough to lift myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only space and time where I wasn't, like I said before, thinking about how my body looked to someone else. And I could be successful because of my body, exactly as it is, and my actions and my decisions. Nobody cares what you look like when you cross the finish line first.
Nope.
They care about what you did.
Yep.
And so this shift of taking the thing that I was so ashamed of, specifically my legs, but my body generally, and becoming proud of it because of what it could do, not because of what it looked like, was a major turning point. And everything I have done since then is really rooted in this idea, this concept that you can change your narrative. I was saying all kinds of things to myself. I am too big. I can never be successful. I will never be small enough. I don't have what it takes to. I am an athlete. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I will see how far I can go. I do have so much pride in myself. And if we could record what we're saying to ourselves all day and get a transcript at the end of the day and then read that transcript, we would find those prompts laced through everything we said to ourselves. I am not, I can, I can't, I could, I couldn't, I will, I would, I wouldn't, I won't, I do, I didn't.
Yeah.
I did, or I did.
So let's talk about this because you layered a lot in there. And so there's a lot to unpack.
Oh, there's more. There's more.
I'm sure there's more. I want to get to your mantra. Before I get there, I just want to acknowledge that what you were feeling until that point, unfortunately, I don't think it's rare. I think that
no,
all of us as women have that issue, whether it's your legs or your hair or your chest size or whatever it is, right? And so we're always told to stay small, be quiet, be polite, like all of this stuff. It's ingrained in us as little girls, especially our generation. I think it's getting better. So the fact that you were able to have that a moment in time where you realized that thing that was holding you back was actually your superpower.
Yes.
It's just, it is mind blowing. And it's an amazing example for so many women, because even at our age, we still have that negative chatter, and all of our girls, right? Our girls.
And I'm telling you, as far as I have come and how much I have changed my story and changed the narrative of my response to myself when I look in the mirror, those messages that were wired in when we were young, they're still there.
Mhm.
And they're still all around us on social media. And so I would not say, and this is the thing about self-talk, I wouldn't say that I've got this under control completely. I think that it's a lifelong process, and we can become more skilled at managing our inner monologue.
Mhm.
And I'm able to catch myself. And
Yeah.
that's part of that is key to what I teach in how to change our chatter, is by practicing awareness of what you're saying to yourself, practicing writing it down, practicing changing the words. You can carry that skill into your everydayness and catch yourself in real time.
Yeah.
And change what
That's
you're saying.
powerful.
And now changing what you say to yourself is not going to change your life. It's not going to cure cancer. It's not going to get you the job. It's going to change how we handle the challenges in our lives. That's key.
It is, because the way we handle means that it creates better opportunity.
Yes.
It changes the outcome.
Yes.
Talk about, so your mantra, I
Yes.
am, I can, I will, I do. Where did that come from? You seeded it a little bit. So tell us more about how to incorporate it and how you use it every day.
So it started, it's wild. It was early 2000s. I was teaching a cycling class, and we had these, we were finishing the class. It was a big climb, and I put on these koto drums, this really, really powerful instrumental Japanese koto drums piece. And the room, it was an inspired class. When you take a class and it's everything the instructor says, and the music, it almost becomes like a profound theatrical experience.
Yeah.
And it's not scripted, it's happening spontaneously. And I cued them to turn up that resistance until I said, turn it up until you think you can't handle it anymore. And then tell yourself, I am, I can, I will, I do. Off to the top. And everybody erupted, and they for the next 5 minutes to the top of the hill. And for weeks afterwards, people came up to me and they said, I will never forget that class. That I am, I can, I will, I do. That is stuck in my head. I keep hearing it, and I would just never forget that class. And I said, wow, what's in there? There's something in there. And over time, I started to really, think about it. Then I made it my signature. Then I got it on Twitter. I'm like, I should just really explore what this is. And I've always done a lot of writing. And I started to notice that woven into my writing, like I said earlier, if you had a transcript of what you said to yourself all day, you would find those prompts laced in there. And that is what I started to discover when I was writing, and then looking back on what I'd written, that those 4 prompts are our roadmap in our head.
Mm-hmm.
And we follow the map. We listen to that station, if you will, in our head without realizing that we can change it. And so in my writing, I started to change it.
Yeah.
And changing the words started to change how I felt. And having studied as an actor and understanding the employing your imagination, I would do writing experiments with myself. Like, let me write a story. Like, what if my life looked like this? And so this is all me, my free time. I'm just writing. And my, a previous relationship I was in, I was asked to, could I do something with that? She had asked me to take those prompts and could I help her with, she was teaching golf to small children, and it was a girls empowerment camp. And what could I do with I am, I can, I will, I do with these 4 groups of young girls from, I think it was like 5 to 7, 8 to 10, 11 to 13, and then 14 to something like that. And so I thought, well, I'll tell them a little story, like my ballerina thighs story. And then we'll talk about how they finish those sentences, and we'll write sentences with those prompts, and then we'll edit them down and make a mantra. And Wordshop was born.
Tell us about Wordshop.
That was like over 10 years ago. So Wordshop is a workshop in self-talk where I do exactly that. I talk about the concept of talking to ourselves, and then there's storytelling based on, if I'm being brought in by an organization, it will be about whatever themes. Like I recently did one for Constellation Energy in Baltimore for their women in IT group. And it was about speaking up and trusting your voice, and addressed all of those things like you mentioned earlier. We're brought up to be quiet and to wait, but we're also taught to get out there and get after it. We're taught to be polite, but we're also taught to be 100% that bitch. So how do we navigate how we live our lives, how we behave, how we interact when we're given so many mixed messages about how to be in the world? And so we engaged in self-talk over that idea. And then we filled in our mantras, and I think there was like 100 people in the room. Every single person shared their mantra at the end. And this incredible thing happens when everybody shares the mantra that they have created. First, there's an incredible vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel that I don't really want to do this kind of energy. And as one follows the other, people get more and more brave because they hear themselves and what everybody else said. I said, that is one of the things I wrote down too.
Yeah. And
then, because there is recognition bouncing all over the room, this relief happens. And I watch the wave of anxiety and anticipation of not wanting to do it to the moment of recognition. Oh my gosh, I am the same. I am the same. That I am the same. Those 8 people just said the same thing. Relief in that recognition. Once we take that leap, and this is the point of that process, we take that leap of vulnerability and just go with it, trust it.
Yeah.
We find so much strength because we recognize our truth, and we recognize it's the same as everybody else's truth.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when we realize we don't have to pretend that we're more buttoned up and more together than we actually are, we can start talking about what's really going on. And then we can start changing what's really going on.
Yeah. And I think that that's happening with so many women since COVID, especially. I feel like, I can't really speak for men, but I can say for women, I feel like, we're talking about the messiness.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the imperfection and how it's really perfectly imperfect, and it's
you see the rest of this room.
Yeah, right. Don't look under my feet here right now. Right. Yeah. I mean, I love this movement towards speaking our own truth and not having shame around it. I mean, you and I were talking earlier. It's like, hell, I talk about the damn hot flashes all the time.
Oh, right. We
Those,
should have no shame talking about that.
that's right. Um,
You know, you see some people respond if you say something about any of that body stuff. Someone might go, "Ooh,
yeah.
TMI."
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Stop. It's not too much information. It's what's really happening.
Yeah.
It's what's really happening.
Yeah.
And we have a right to that. We have a right to not be ashamed. We've been taught to be ashamed of so many things, of all of the natural processes of the body. And I call bullshit.
Yeah. And honestly, it's nothing to be ashamed of. We're normalizing it.
Funny, we have to normalize something that is normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your competitive cycling.
Ooh.
So how does your mantra work? Like in that moment, like I know you've had a lot of struggles in the last year, right? Like you had that crash last August. You just came back. You had a big race in this August. You were just coming back from, like, that self-talk can really kind of get in your head when you're in that space. So how do you talk to us, how you prepare yourself, like all of it?
Well, I broke my shoulder, collarbone, scapula was cracked in 2 places, and I broke 2 ribs August of 2022. So I missed going to World Championships because it was 3 weeks before that. And it was pretty devastating. It was a big, hard blow. And I had never broken a bone in my life. Now I got 5 at once.
Yeah.
So having to stop training, having to stay still was incredibly hard for me. But I had to reset myself. And when I was coming back and starting to train again, I had to check my ego and remember that I am starting from zero. And I can be patient.
Mm-hmm.
I will begin without ego. And, I got excited in the training process. I got frustrated. I got hopeless. I got hopeful again. And I reminded myself, this is not a linear process.
Yeah.
It is not a linear process. And all I can do is roll with it and be as consistent as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And see what happens. This was the key, is like, just see what happens.
Yeah.
Of course, that took me through the fall and the winter, and racing started again in the spring, and just go out there and see what happens. Taking the pressure off the idea of winning. Now, someone might say, why would you even enter a race without the goal of winning? And some people have criticized me for this idea. And no, sometimes winning isn't about crossing the line first. Sometimes the win is the showing up.
Yes.
I'm afraid to show up. I'm afraid I'm going to be embarrassed. I am afraid I'm going to fall to the back. I'm going to get dropped. I will be so weak. I was also afraid that I was afraid of being in a pack again.
Yeah.
Because the crash happened in a mass start race, a group race, not an individual time trial where there's nobody else to bump into. And part of how I guess you could call it, let myself off the hook for the new season, was to tell myself I'll only do the time trials. And Nobody else can knock me down.
Mhm.
Or there's much lower risk because there's a 4-person team time trial, the team pursuit. And I thought, I'll do that. And then I'll do the individual things because it's just less risk. Then I got out there to a training session. And I remember having all this anxiety about showing up to the training session. Like, I could feel the tension in my body. And then I parked my car and I pulled out my bike and I changed my gear and I pumped my tires and I went to and I was like, wait, oh my gosh, I'm here. I just went autopilot. And I found myself on the track and I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Right?
We have to give ourselves the chance. Sometimes it happens like that. That was a little bit magical. And then I, slowly began racing again. I'll stay at the back. I'll stay safe. Moving the bar, not lowering the bar, but moving the bar. We talk about raising the bar, moving the bar in my head and giving myself permission to have different goals in a race. Just finish or just try staying up and out of the way for this race. I allowed myself to experiment. I allowed myself to be curious about what was possible. I allowed myself to play.
Yeah.
Yes. Play. And that built my confidence back up. Gradually. So then it comes to August and it's nationals. And I still don't really know what my fitness, I've been feeling pretty good about it, but I know that there's this other woman who's showing up who can kick my ass. I have respect for her. And she's so strong, it drives me nuts. Her name is Debbie Milne, and she's an incredible athlete and a beautiful human being. And this thing happened in my head. She's also very, very petite. She's very, very tiny. And I'm like, what is it with the small people being on the top of the podium, being in the front? It was just like ballet days. I mean, wow. Okay, check that narrative. This has nothing to do with that. Because often in track cycling, they're looking at like the big girl. The big girl is going to beat the little. This has nothing to do with your size, which is the beauty of it. It has to do with your fitness, not just your like physical fitness, your mental fitness. How do you manage your inner monologue? And somebody said to me, if you want to win, you have to want to win. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's obvious. But it landed differently. And I started thinking about how I was going to race the points race the next day. And I said to myself, you have got to, if you want this, you have got to, when you encounter that moment where you think, oh my God, I don't have anything left in my legs. I can't. Mm-hmm. I can't dig any deeper. There's nothing left. Dig deeper. Mm-hmm. When you feel like you are hitting the wall, catch yourself, and find a way to push harder and turn that wall into a door.
Yes.
Go through it. Even if you do completely lose it, and you have nothing left and you're tanked and you bonk, give yourself a chance. And I meditated on that and I thought about it and I wrote about it. And so when I got in the race, the moment happened and I dug a little deeper and I pushed a little harder and I believed a little bit bigger. And suddenly I'm coming around her and I took the points on that specific lap. I did not win the race though.
That's okay.
But my win was how I handled that moment.
Yes.
It happened a couple of times in the race, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I was so, so proud of that silver medal.
Oh
So
my
proud.
God. And this is why you're so powerful as a coach, because, well, first of all, one of the things you always say, which I love, is what if you can?
That's
Like,
how much is baked into that, right?
right. Like, what if I can? Like, and the other thing is when you said, sometimes the win is about showing up, I wholeheartedly believe that, because everybody is coming from a different place, whether it's a physical recovery,
Right.
postpartum, cancer, divorce,
Yeah.
whatever, loss, and you've got to start from where you are.
I am.
Yes.
We cannot figure out at all how to get where we want to go unless we know where we are.
Yes. And to your idea of giving ourselves permission is just, that is like step number one. That is so important. We're so hell bent on like hitting the grand slam.
Yeah.
You got to get to the batter's box first.
Yes, nothing happens if you don't show up.
Yeah.
And you have to be present with yourself in that showing up, and be in the process, be in the journey of that.
Yes.
That's my t-shirt I'm wearing today.
Begin the journey.
Be in the journey.
Yeah. Oh, be in the journey. Sorry.
Well, it's begin the journey.
It is.
Be in the journey.
Yeah.
It's both begin and be in. I had, when I started making my t-shirts back like 2012, 13, I had been sitting on the beach and I'd started, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. Menopause.
Yeah.
Carving to make a block print.
Yeah.
And I had carved, I am, I can, I will, I do, and started stamping that on t-shirts. I'm going somewhere with this.
Yes.
And I started carving into this long block, begin the journey. And this was my meditative way of, I knew I needed a change in my life at that moment. I needed to do a lot of things different, and I needed to begin that journey. And I spent hours carving, begin the journey into this block. And I got to the end and I'm looking at it. I'm really proud of it. And I'm like, wait a second, you forgot the G. And
Oh my
said,
God.
in the journey. And I said, oh, wow, what a strange, wow. Both begin the journey, yes, but be in the journey.
Yeah.
In my mind, I just like,
that's mind blowing.
and it happened, but accident, if there are accidents. And so that has also become a thing that I have said to myself a million times over.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so let's switch to Peloton. And I mentioned this in the beginning, but and you might not even know the answer to this because I don't think it's conscious for you, but like, how do you actually, like when we were talking last week, I said, I feel like I'm in church sometimes with you, like, and again, I'm not a churchgoer, but when there are certain people you can be in a crowded room of hundreds of people. And here I'm on my bike in my basement and you're teaching to thousands of people. And I feel like I'm the only one in the room. How do you do that?
Because we're the same. I am talking to you. Every single person on the other side of that traveling red light in that studio is someone who wants things and is someone who is afraid of things and someone who is carrying things that they don't know how to drop, and things that have been handed to them they didn't ask for. Every single person. So, myself included. So I'm looking at that camera, at the eyes on the other side of that camera through that lens. I know we're the same. I don't care what your politics are. There's a sameness in all of us, rooted in those things. We all want something, we're all afraid, and we're all carrying something.
Yeah.
That we might not know how to put down, or that we have to carry for a time, that we asked for or didn't ask for. And those roots of truth are in all of us.
Yes.
That's how I see the world. And baked into that idea is to approach our interactions with others, to approach my teaching, interacting with everyone taking class, with an attitude of curiosity instead of an attitude of judgment. We are so quick to judge in this world.
Yes.
And when we judge, we cut off possibilities. When we practice curiosity, we create possibilities.
Yes.
And that's what that lens that I'm seeing everything through. I think that's why you feel that.
So beautiful. Christine, how do you protect your peace?
Oh. I ride my bike.
Yeah.
Honestly, I need other ways to protect my peace though. But riding my bike is even in my basement, my dusty, nasty basement with cave crickets. is my haven. Also this room up here, but bigger than that, it's hard sometimes to say no to things, but it is about saying no to things, because saying that no is saying yes to something else.
Yeah.
And I think that one way of protecting my peace is putting the damn phone down. There's some time ago, I had messages turned off on my Instagram, because while there was a lot of beautiful messages,
yeah,
I can't. I don't do the work I do to get compliments. I do the work I do to get impact. And while there are beautiful things that are said in those messages, and sometimes some very unpleasant things from trolls, I don't need, it doesn't serve the work I'm doing. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. And
the scrolling, like, I can't tell you, I've gotten triggered by stuff. And like, when you feel the cortisol and the just from something somebody said or a picture, like,
yeah,
I just want to sit on my couch and eat the beautiful meal that Mr. Hicks and I made, and enjoy a glass of red wine, and be present. So that was the long answer. How do I protect my peace? Is to put away distractions and be present, whether that's with the person I love or a friend or in my writing or on my bike.
It's beautiful. And I love that you turned off the messaging on your Instagram. I mean, hey, that's taking care of yourself. That's called self-care for sure. So what is the reward you get from teaching?
Oh gosh. I love being, it's being present. It is that being in the moment. I love being in the moment of together, whether I can see you or not, of bearing witness to human beings hitting the wall and going through it.
Yeah.
Even if I can't see you, I know somebody out there is going through that. And then I'll see feedback on other posts, stories people share with me about having that moment. And that's incredibly rewarding. And I know with messages turned off, I miss messages about that stuff, but there's other ways to see things. When people tag me in a story and they're sharing that kind of moment, or in person and I'm getting the feedback directly, that someone had a shift. That is why I do what I do. I remember being that little girl watching my first ballet before I became a dancer and feeling so moved by this physical storytelling of ballet. I didn't know what that's what it was at the time. But as I look back on all of the things I've done in my life and all of the things that I've pursued, the root, the driver behind all of my passions has been to be a storyteller.
Yes.
And in storytelling, to inspire recognition and change. I had an acting teacher in high school, Allison, who was a Green Kelly or Kelly Green. And she told us how she was performing in Taming of the Shrew. And a woman came up to her after the performance and said, she was crying. And she said, I just saw my marriage and now I understand why I need to leave.
Wow.
She had this moment of recognition, and to be able to be a part of a mechanism that creates the opportunities for those moments is what has driven me to do all of the things that I do. Now, I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be an actor, and then discovered this unknown athlete within me. And now it's wild. I am on a stage. Mm-hmm. And I am moving with music and telling stories.
Yes, you are.
I am doing it in this uniquely, like, sort of odd set of circumstances that deeply support that mission.
Isn't that amazing?
Like, awesome. What do you do for a living? I'm a spin instructor. No, but I'm not. I use movement as a vehicle to tell story, to potentially inspire change.
Can you share a story about a student who's, been impacted by your storytelling?
I mean, there are people who've gotten divorced. Yeah. Gotten married, spoken up, gotten out of abusive relationships. run for political offices,
Yeah.
made major decisions to change the course of their lives. A gentleman wrote to me recently who his wife was very, very ill, and they were in this stage of realization that the clock was ticking and she had limited time and there was nothing else that could be done. And he said, in that process, I needed to be there for her 100%. And I needed some chunk of time where I didn't think about anything. And he said he found my rides, and he didn't need jazz hands, and he wanted straightforward, mindful, but direct exercise. And someone who wasn't going to talk too much. And he said for months and months and months, every day he went down to the bike, and it didn't even matter what class it was. He knew what he was going to get when he clicked on my name.
Yep.
And then she passed. And then some time went, he was like, he couldn't even ride as he mourned. Then enough time passed and he started to get back on the bike and feel reinvigorated in taking care of himself. And he wrote all of this to me to say, and now I feel like I'm ready to try someone else. And that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I love that he spent all this time with me, and being anchored in that messaging helped him navigate through that period of time. And he grew and now can go explore other possibilities. There's no loss in that to me. That's actually an incredible success of a story of growth and an evolution. Those are the same thing. And I was so pleased, so honored to have him actually even take the time to write that, to share that with me. And he shared how his mantra evolved through that process. And it was beautiful.
That's beautiful.
It's a very impactful story to me.
Thank you. I love that story. We're going to get ready to wrap up here. I have 2 more questions for you. The first is, what 3 things or pieces of advice would you like to leave with our community today?
Well, 1, the most powerful thing anyone can say to you is what you say to yourself. You have the agency to change your narrative. Practice writing it. Take a workshop.
Yes.
And develop those skills. 2, let's please stop fighting with our bodies and explore instead, with curiosity and playfulness, what are we built for?
Yes.
Because the specific design of your body and your mind are built for something. Trust that. And 3rd, remember that in all of our desire to get somewhere else, to make our lives look a certain way, to achieve something, that it's not linear. Life is not linear. No process is. And to be in that journey.
That's beautiful. And I just want to say there are two additional quotes, Christine quotes, that I love. One of them is, "You are so much bigger than a smaller pair of pants."
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And "hands on your back."
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That
I use that.
Mm.
So good. Okay, finish this sentence. Know, like, trust is.
Know, like, trust is how we should treat ourselves.
Yes.
And then we can know, like, and trust out there.
Where can people find you?
At Instagram, I am, I can, I will, I do. And on my website, Christine, DERCOLE.com. If you Google I am, I can, I will, I do, it will also take you there as well. I have a Twitter, but I'm not really on
it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name. And I have a TikTok that I'm like, I don't know what to do with. There's a couple things floating around there, but Instagram is where I spend most of my time.
Awesome.
I mean, not most of my time, but on social media.
Your social media time. It's IG all the way. Thank you for saying yes to us.
Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all of you listening out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, if you like what we're doing, share it with your friends. Give us a 5-star review. Write us a little review. We would so appreciate it. It goes a long way. And till next time, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.